Okay, this is the men's 100 meter breaststroke at the 2025 Toronto Grand Prix. This is Heat 2. And we are dealing with Marco Warma in lane 3. Let's check it out. We'll watch the whole race and then we'll review it. Looks like a pretty good dive. Gonna come back around to that underwater though.
We have disqualification, event 5, heat 3, lane 2. Event 5, heat 3, lane 2.
So I will admit, wasn't ready for just the 50. You looked great going out. I think for posterity's sake, let's watch the whole race. Then we'll get back and we'll just kind of review that 50, okay? Nice. Okay. Coming back to the start. Let's get right back to the start. Overall body position on the blocks looking pretty good. Looking like maybe that back leg is at 90 degrees. Kind of hard to tell, but I'd say that's your leg. I can expect it's connecting up with the hip, so maybe it's a bit smaller than 90 degrees. Maybe playing with one notch back on that wedge, or probably better yet, playing with a little bit leaning forwards out into open space a little bit more. We can see that this front leg is pretty extended, okay? We want to make sure, like a spring, that we're coiled, okay? That way we can get the most mechanical work out of, well, whatever movement we're going to try and do. Settle. I've started panning right. I expect to go has occurred. Looks like great. Your first reaction is to press on that back foot. See the calf activating. Hips are moving forward immediately. Great extension on that back foot. I love that front leg and where it got to. But you see how by this point your front leg is approaching that 90-degree angle. It's now loaded. You know, take your marks. And getting into a position where it more closely resembles that is something I'd maybe like to see you experiment with. Now, obviously, you can't be balancing in this body position, so you have to kind of meet in between the middle with these two worlds, these two ideals. But I love that you're pressing out. A little confused by your leg kicking off clearly to the side, like it's rotating out a little bit. Got our hands together, a little bit of a fall in, but overall really nice entry. I want to see that again. Let's see. Love that. A lot of the other members of our team should be looking at this underwater. There are virtually no bubbles, ribs up for you, and that's indicative. You can't really see any of the other guys, but like look at how much air this guy's bringing down with him, whereas you are not. That's indicative of a very efficient stroke. Now, that was what I wanted to talk about. Look at how offline you bring yourself here. Theoretically, love the amplitude, but practically, I'd say it's too much because you've switched the goal. You've stopped going up, or sorry, not going out. You started going up. Like you almost did like a little step up thing, right? Like you just added distance to your swim. You went up a level in the water there, and everybody else followed a straight path. So you've messed around a little bit there. On these shoots forward, I like the energy, but instead of running into the water, can see that the splash out is happening because of that run-in. I'd rather try and get over this packet of water, this bow wave that is in front of you. Trying to get your chest and your ribs as much as you can up and over it rather than kind of like chest bumping it. Let me see. Getting out into extension, feet are not finishing the kick before you're already taking your pull. Breaststroke is the least efficient and probably weakest stroke. Because of that reality, much of it needs to be focused on the preservation of what power we do produce. Your kick, your legs are gonna be stronger than your arms, no matter what you do. And you know, it'd be interesting because of how inefficient breaststroke is as a stroke. I don't know the answer to this, but the breaststroke kick, you know, maybe it's more of an approximate power generation, you know, compared to the arms of breaststroke. But I would still, if I was betting, say, you know, I'd bet that the legs are still stronger than the arms. The power you're generating with your kick when your arms are not in streamline is energy wasted. You have a bow wave in front of you. I mean, we always do, whether we can see it or not. You can see, you know, on a slightly different angle, you know, this gentleman, we can see that the reflection is showing that he is, you know, affecting the water above and around and critically also below him. You're doing the exact same thing. It exists the exact same way for you, except that you're running into it and you're also creating a greater frontal surface area to hit it with, rather than a small, tiny, streamlined position to cut through that bow wave with. So even though this is a 50, I'd like to see, you know, trying to get that kick to do the work that, like, because here's the thing, right? Like, you are kicking as hard as you're kicking. You're doing all of that work, but I don't want to see that work wasted, right? I hope you don't want to see that work wasted either. Does that mean that we want to all of a sudden like sabotage ourselves and be working with a way slower stroke rate, like a turnover? Like, maybe not, right? But lots of stuff in swimming is contradictory, so something to think about, something to work on. Overall, I liked that 50 though. A lot of energy, a lot of power. I think that the underwater is a big one that you're going to want to think about. That huge step up that you did there was something that is ripe for the picking, that you can improve on right away without, I don't think, a crazy amount of thought. Because the nice thing is I'm not asking you to do something crazy here. I'm asking you to just maybe step back a little bit on that. But great. Good job, man.